Yeah, I started it.
Everyone can find a seat. We're going to look for some more chairs. Looks like we're going to have some people tonight than we expected. If everyone in the back can just be quiet as we begin the meeting, though. This is the ANC 34G meeting, our regularly scheduled October meeting. We usually meet twice in each month. In October, the first meeting fell on Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day. And so the community center was closed, so we didn't have a meeting. But ordinarily, we meet twice a month. The ANC consists of 7 commissioners. Tonight we have 6 commissioners here. 1 commissioner is away. And each of us represent about 2,000 people. For those of you who don't attend the ANC meetings, and I see that there are a lot of new faces, I'll describe a little bit about what the ANC does. We do not have any authority to do anything. All we can do, as our name implies, is advise. And so we advise the district government, including the council as well as all of the agencies, on issues that relate to our community. And we gather information in meetings like this, and then we communicate that through resolutions or through letters, or through other means to various agencies of the district government. They are required to give our views great weight, and that simply means that they have to acknowledge that we have made a contribution and we've said something to them, and that then they have to address it one way or the other. They can reject it. Doesn't mean they have to follow our advice, it just means they have to consider it. So that's the purpose of these meetings, is to gather information from all of you. Of course, this is not all that the commissioners do. Many of us spend a lot of hours outside these meetings, talking to constituents, dealing with issues, talking to people at various agencies to try to resolve problems. And that's a large part of what we do. We're glad to have all of you here tonight. We are going to go through the agenda, which I hope all of you have seen. We'll try to follow the agenda as closely as possible, but there may be some exceptions where we'll deviate from it to a certain extent. We ask each speaker to come up to the microphone. We video all of our meetings. They're recorded and then put on our YouTube channel, usually the next day. And so that way everybody who can't come to our meeting can also see what happened. We also ask that no one try to interrupt anyone else, that we're going to be courteous to everyone who wants to speak. We'll ask you if you want to speak on a particular topic. We have a whiteboard up here, and you can go up and put your name on there, so we'll make sure to get you into the queue so that you can be heard. There are a couple of other people in the room that you may see scurrying around. Stephanie is scurrying around right now. She's our office manager, and she helps us out with a lot of issues related to the logistics of the meetings. And then Alan Beach, who is a former commissioner who does a great deal of work to continue to help us, is also here to assist. So we'll begin the meeting, first of all, by having all of the commissioners introduce themselves. I am Randy Speck. I'm the chair of the commission. I represent ANC 3G03, and that's basically the area that's between Nebraska, Nevada, and Broad Branch. Becky?
Hello everyone, I'm Rebecca Madak. I'm 3G04. I'm basically from Broad Branch to Utah. Nebraska was Morrison and then Tennyson, basically. And I have Lafayette Elementary School part of my single-member district.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Shanda Garfield, and I represent ANC 3G02, which is the part of the district that's closest to the park and Bingham Drive, circled by Oregon and top. Thank you for coming this evening.
Greetings to all. Big group here today. My name is Chris Fronvaluti, ANC 3G07, which is our southernmost district by military arena in Nevada and Nebraska.
Hi everybody, I'm Jerry Mallix. I represent 3G05. That's pretty much from Chevy Chase Circle down Connecticut to military and across to Broad Branch.
Hi everyone, good evening. My name is Dan Bradford. I represent 3G06, which is Connecticut Avenue and Chevy Chase Circle to the west, furthest west to Chevy Chase Park.
Okay, we have 6 commissioners here, which means we have a quorum and we can conduct business. The first order of business is to adopt our agenda, which has been published on our website and on various listservs in the community. Anyone have any modifications or changes to make? All those in favor of adopting the agenda? 6-0. Okay, I have just one announcement really, and then we'll hear from the other commissioners and then have some community announcements. But at our last meeting on September 23rd, we had a presentation from Ronald Sullivan, who's the program manager for building abatement at DCRA. And this was with regard to the vacant house at 2900 Military Road. The house is really in pretty bad condition now. The developer has bought the house and partially demolished the interior, but has left it in a pretty dilapidated state. And Mr. Sullivan described the steps that DCRA has taken to secure the property, to clean it up, make sure it meets the various code requirements. They've issued notices of violations and orders of abatement, but its powers really are limited in what it can do for a developer who basically just neglects a property. I subsequently spoke with the owner, whose name is Michael Watson, and he conceded that he has all the necessary permits, but he just doesn't have financing. And so he's in the position of owning this property, but not being able to get the financing together to develop it the way he had planned. I told the owner at the time, because DCRA had invited them to come in and talk with DCRA and see if they could work out a way forward. I invited Mr. Watson to take them up on that offer. So far as I know, he has not done that. Nothing has been done to the property since our September 23rd meeting, and I've asked DCRA to step in now and at least secure the property by boarding up all the windows on the second floor, which are completely open to the elements as well as to the vagrants or anybody else who wants to come by. There's no lock on the gate, for instance, so anyone can go in there. So I've asked DCRA to secure the property and to then give a bill to Mr. Watson for that work. But we're doing everything I think we can at this stage. It's really an eyesore, and we're concerned that in the winter it's going to be particularly hazardous because the weather is going to cause damage to the interior of the building. So anyway, we're continuing to follow that, and we'll see what we can do to resolve it. Becky, do you have announcements?
Yes, tomorrow night at 6:30 in this building, we're going to have a meeting on the Lafayette Park Recreation Center. Not to be confused with the community center project that's upcoming. This will probably be the last full meeting prior to the beginning of construction for that recreation center. So if you're interested, please come back here tomorrow night at 6:30.
One other announcement that Becky has been very involved in as part of our lighting task force, but our lighting task force has been pretty much subsumed within a larger group for the entire district. But as part of DDOT's Smart Street Lighting Project, it's going to hold public meetings on November 5th from 6:30 to 8 o'clock at Georgetown Public Library, and then on November 6th from 6 to 7:30 at the Roosevelt High School auditorium. And they are proposing to convert street light network throughout the city to LED technology, and with remote monitoring and control capabilities, and they'll use a public-private partnership to finance the project. As I said, our ANC has been very actively involved in that in the past. Comments on the current proposal can be submitted by November 7th to DDOT, and more information can be found at DDOT's website. Okay, Shannon.
No, I'm sure Councilmember Todd's office is here, but as most residents may know or may not, and we'll probably have more information later, it's also on Councilmember Todd's newsletter. There was a meeting held on October 21st to give an update on the Oregon Avenue construction with the Department of Transportation and Councilmember Todd. So as many of you know, some of you were there, you got updates. Unfortunately, I was not, but please look in both the ANC website as well as Councilmember Todd's newsletter for updates, because it also had contact phone numbers for DDOT officials who will be working on the project.
I would also mention that DDOT now has an up and running website. It's not fully populated, it doesn't have all the information on it yet, but it's at least a beginning. Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to announce that there's going to be a meeting, the first meeting of the Chevy Chase Community Center Design Review Committee on October 30th, which is Wednesday here at the Community Center at 7 o'clock. The main purpose of that meeting is organizational, to talk about what the committee is going to do. I also want to announce a major meeting on the Community Center on November 6th, also at 7 p.m. in the Community Center, where Department of Parks and Recreation and the new architect for the Community Center will be here. And they're going to talk about ideas for the Community Center. They want to hear they want to get community input. And so if you're interested in what's going to happen with the Community Center, I urge you all to come to that meeting. Another minor item. DDOT has issued a notice of intent to four-way stop signs at the intersections of 38th Street and Ingomar and 38th Street and Huntington. These are currently a two-way stop, and there have been accidents with drivers cutting across 38th Street without stopping. Good visibility. So if anybody has an objection to the four-way stops, please let myself or DDOT know. Thank you.
I just have one announcement. It's about an upcoming event. A group called Chart, Chevy Chase Artists Group, which has been in front of our ANC a few times, has a juried exhibition that's going to be held. The opening reception is going to be Sunday, November 3rd from 3 to 5 p.m. at Chevy Chase Village, right across the line from Maryland.
Hi, everyone. Just one thing, a little more fun and entertaining, which is this Thursday on the Avenue. Not to forget the Halloween Spooktacular that all of our businesses come together and sponsor. Hopefully we'll have a really good turnout this year. It's from 4 to 6 p.m. Hopefully the rain will hold off or stop before then. But we look forward to everyone coming out, and hopefully there will be more crowd.
Okay, now time for community announcements, and we usually let the mayor's office go first. Jessica?
Hi everybody, I'm Jessica Green, formerly Wartime, Mayor Bowser's Ward 3 liaison. Just want to give you guys a heads up about a couple events. Tomorrow, October 29th, Mayor Bowser will be attending, and we hope you will join for the high heel race, which is at 7 p.m. It will be at 17th Street between R and P Streets. And then on Saturday, November 2nd, we will be kicking off the open enrollment for DC HelpLink at 10 a.m. at the Woodbridge Library in Northeast. And I have some information about the open enrollment season. I put a couple of flyers back there for anybody who needs information, whether it's updating your current plan or enrolling in a new one. In addition, if you have any other community questions or concerns, please feel free to come talk to me. I'm glad to speak with you and see if I might be able to help. All right, that's it.
Thank you, Jessica. And then Dee Smith, I saw you here just a moment ago. Yes, there you go.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dee Smith from Councilmember Che's office. I just wanted to inform you of about 3 things that are coming up in the next couple of weeks. The first thing is on November 4th, there will be a bill, and it's introduced by the District Department of Transportation's committee, and it is regarding the electronic mobility devices, i.e. scooters and other things that we use in public space. I know that we've heard from a lot of residents about your excitement about them or your concern about them, so I urge you to please, this is your opportunity to sign up. If you have the ability to come and testify, the hearing is on November 4th. It's from 10 a.m. until 4. The hearing is on November 4th, and you can sign up to testify. If you cannot come in person, please know that 2 weeks following the hearing, you can still submit your written testimony to be included on the record. So I always tell people, we understand if you can't come in real time, but your written testimony is just as important, so don't forget. Also coming up on November 6th, we will hold a public roundtable with the Department of Transportation to hear, Department of Public Works to hear what their plans are for the upcoming snow season. This is a good opportunity to hear what their plans are about the removal of snow, treatment of streets, both our major roadways, residential streets. Again, it's an opportunity for you to get information from the Department of Public Works about their game plan. We do hear from a lot of residents your concerns about what happens during the snow season. So again, if you have some concerns or some comments, please share them with our office. This is a great time to hear from you. Finally,
Where's that going to be?
I'm sorry, so the hearing for the public roundtable is November 6th, and I will submit this information for you guys to have for your records. November 6th, 11:30 a.m. is the start time, and it's room 412. The last thing on November 12th, which is a Tuesday, Councilmember Che will be holding a Ward 3 crime meeting. It will be our opportunity to hear from the local police department, and we'll get an overview about crime statistics from the previous year and this year. Also, I'm sure we'll get a lot of awesome tips about how to navigate as we move into daylight savings time, being darker a lot earlier, how to navigate during the holiday seasons, and also just some other useful tips. We've also invited National Park Service and the Metropolitan Police Department, as well as the Metro Police. That meeting is going to be held at the Cleveland Park Library on November 12th from 7 to 8 p.m. on the first floor. So again, if you have any questions, concerns, I think we may have also invited Samantha Miller, who we know is a great wealth of resource and information. She works closely with the police department. So we do invite you out to all of those events, and if you have any questions, I'm always available.
Where event is that? I don't understand the time.
The scooter
We can't hear
hearing,
you. Okay,
That's about the time.
can you come up to the microphone, please? Because we just can't hear you.
so her question was clarification on the time and location for the hearing about the electric mobility apparatus, aka electric scooters, or anything else that may be charged electronically. That hearing is happening Monday the 4th. And for some reason, I don't have the actual room here, but we can follow up and we'll give the information to the committee that includes the notice about the hearing.
What time?
I don't know.
I think you said
I can
10.
find out for you and tell you directly.
I think you said 10 a.m. before. Is that?
I will double check and clarify.
Okay. All right.
Thank you all. all have a
Okay, thank you, Dave. Anyone from Councilmember Todd's office here? Okay. Anyone else have any community announcements they want to make? Okay, with that, we'll plunge into our... Yep. Oh, excuse me.
Should I sign up here, or are you asking for me to? So I saw you sign up to speak.
Well, that's a sign up if you want to speak on some of the topics. But if you have a community announcement, you can certainly make that. No, you don't need to. Yes, please go to the podium. We ask everyone to come to the podium because that will mean you get on the video as well.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Nash. My reason for coming today was really just to welcome. I happen to be functioning as the CEO and president at the Municipal Center for Children. Some of you may have seen.
Could you please turn on the mic to the mic?
I'm sorry.
I'll start again. Stephanie Nash is my name at the Episcopal Center for Children. So I think Rebecca, we've spoken on the phone, I think, once before. I just wanted to introduce myself. This is the first time that I've been here for one of your meetings, and certainly being here in the community, I thought it important to come, especially now. There's been lots of questions and curiosity. I know we're hosting a couple of the soccer teams with the Stoddard Rec. We have the cougars, I think, and the leopards, and a couple other folks, a couple of the other animals that come for soccer practice. But I just wanted to really just welcome and introduce myself and know that I hope to come to some of the other meetings, and we'll continue to maintain the property. And I just wanted to put name to face for some of you.
Yeah, we're very interested in what's going on at the Episcopal Center because we've heard all the rumors and everything, and we're not sure exactly what the facts are. So at some point, we'd love to have you come back and give us a more full report on what your plans are, what the status is, and all that.
In the meantime, too, what I can do, I can share with you the website. For those that may not know it, there's just a brief update on our website also.
Okay, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that would be wonderful because my area that I represent is next to Commissioner Maddox. I'm Commissioner Shannon Garfield, so I'm very happy to be here tonight to meet you. And along with Commissioner Beck, and our community is very interested in the future plans and also how we can work together with you all as ANC. Thank you.
Becky's SMD, my SMD, and Shanda's SMD all converge right there. So we're all three right next to you. Jerry.
I'll just answer the question that came up before, the hearings from 11 to 5 on November 4th.
That's the hearing on electric mobility vehicles.
Yes.
11 o'clock on the 4th.
11 to 5.
Yeah, if you could come up again and give us just a brief update, that would be really helpful.
Okay.
Since we're all very curious. We can't wait. We're impatient.
First of all, just for the note, for the record, our website is ECC, www.eccofdc.org, and that's F as in Frank. On that website, you will find just a brief update. What we're doing now, of course, if you hadn't heard, sadly, June 14th is when the center as a therapeutic school ceased operations. So the school buses, the children that you were used to seeing, that ceased as of mid-June. Since that time, there's a small group of us, myself included, that are there in terms of looking to revision the center, what the next steps would be. That's uncertain at this time. But we do feel it's important to maintain, being good neighbors and maintain the grounds. You'll see cars coming and going, and our maintenance staff continues to be there as well. So right now, it really is still a question mark, so I hesitated to say more. I know there's real curiosity. I just don't have an answer right now, but it's certainly our hope and our prayer that we will revision and come back as a therapeutic school in some way. The age group might be different. There might be some different nuances, but we do hope to continue to be a school, but it will continue to take a little bit more time. In the meantime, I'm there pretty much daily during the school day. Again, Commissioner Madoff, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name correctly, we spoke once on the phone. There's a couple other neighbors.
Yes, I always communicated with you.
Thank you. A couple neighbors that I've been able to meet and speak with, and really just wanting to be a presence and a name and face in case there are questions. And certainly, as we have more of an update, yes, indeed, I will be able to bring that information to you.
Thank you, Stephanie. We appreciate it. Okay, we'll then begin with the next item that's on our agenda, which is presentations by DC Water, the District Department of Energy and Environment, and National Park Service about Bingham Drive, which has been out of commission for quite some time as a result of work that DC Water was doing to replace a large sanitary sewer line. And that work has been completed on Oregon Avenue now and under Bingham Drive, but the road has been in disrepair. And who's here from DC Water? I think that's, yes. Yes, you want to begin the presentation, and then we'll hear from DOE and from National Park Service?
Yes.
So Emmanuel said
Okay.
you should be walking on the road.
Okay.
And then, Mr. Thomas, if you could just introduce yourself or reintroduce yourself. I know you've been here many times.
My name is Willis Thomas. I'm with DC Water. I'm the project manager for the Oregon Avenue Rehab Project. A project that went along pretty good for most of it until the restoration of Bingham Drive. So we're here today to give you an update on that. Emmanuel should be walking in shortly. He's our community relations and affairs specialist. And Daniela along here, she's the day-to-day project manager who can fill us in on everything that's been going on and what's remaining to be done. And we also have our friends from NPS here, National Park Service, we've been working with to try to get closure on getting the roadway open. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Daniela. She's going to give you an update and we'll fill any questions that you have.
I think you have to get closer.
Closer.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Sorry about that. So as Willis stated, I'm Danielle Cologne. I actually work for AECOM, but I'm a consultant to DC Water, and I'm currently trying to get this roadway restored for you guys. So this project's been in delay essentially since I guess around last November or so. The road became very damaged when we got some rainstorms last summer. It caused a lot of washout while aggregate was exposed on the road and created some issues for us in terms of restoration. We originally planned to just do some patching over the trench on Bingham Drive, and now we have to expand that and do curb-to-curb replacement of the road. And essentially that's triggered some regulations that we have to address. It's taken a bit longer than I think we had anticipated. And so we are working very closely with NPS as well as DOE to find a solution so that we can restore this roadway as soon as possible. Given where we are in the year right now, I think realistically the road will be restored sometime next spring, just because asphalt plants will close soon, and we haven't gotten the go-ahead to start with restoration yet. We have compiled new drawings for the roadway restoration. They are currently under review by DOE and NPS. We received some preliminary comments. We're still working through some of those things, but we're hoping to take the next few months and really work together to get this road restored as soon as possible. But I'm answering any questions you might have about the project or the roadway restoration.
Yes, so from from the commissioners, and I'm sure Commissioner Clayton, he's emailed with you all many times as well about the status of the road. You mentioned that you would receive some comments.
Yeah.
Can you just elaborate a little bit more and tell us more about that and how that would work into your timeline?
Sure. So, I mean, this is kind of a typical design process, is that we come up with drawings and then we kind of pass them around to folks to get feedback. So we did get some comments. I guess the main concern is when the road was damaged originally, it was because of a lot of water coming into the road from Oregon Avenue. And it kind of just flooded the roadway, washed out a lot of stone that we had. And so the DOE wants us to take a look at whether or not we can do anything else to kind of keep water off of the roadway from Bingham Drive while we're doing construction. So again, we'll end up ripping up more asphalt, and we don't want to create more of a problem with erosion and sediment control. So that was kind of one of their main concerns with regard to that. And so we'll have to examine that and see if the DOE has any specific suggestions for that location. And of course, because this is MPS property, everything must be approved by them and coordinated with them.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Nick Bartolomeo. I'm the Chief of Resource Management at Rock Creek Park, which has jurisdiction over Bingham Drive. And what's going on right now is, as our friends at DC Water and EECOM mentioned, the plans are under review. They're actually with the Federal Highway Administration, which is our partner who does all of the park's roads and the park service. So they have it for review. We should actually have their comments in hand, within a matter of days. As soon as that happens, we'll review what Federal Highway says, and then we'll turn it over to DC Water. They'll take a look at the comments and revise their plans accordingly. And then we can go ahead and issue a permit for construction. That permit will contain a provision that requires DC Water to conduct stormwater management. So if you guys have seen on Beach Drive, when we reconstructed Beach Drive, we constructed stormwater management structures on the side of the road. Something very similar is going to be needed for Bingham Drive. But there's no room in the valley at Bingham Drive. So we're going to look at other locations in Rock Creek Park where we can implement stormwater management to capture stormwater and filter it and slow it down before it gets into Rock Creek. So it's a very positive benefit, but that's not going to happen immediately. Our Park Service's immediate desire is to get that roadway reopened. So we'll be working with DC Water and DOE on that to make that happen as soon as possible.
Anyone here from DOE?
I can say that I have nothing really to add to this.
Can you come up with microphone, please? Even so.
Hi everyone, Steve Sari with the Department of Energy and Environment. And I don't really have anything to add. I'm here as a technical resource for you if there are questions that would be specific to something that I can answer. But really, the ball is in DC Water and National Park Service's court. We don't generally comment on plan sets that are actively being reviewed. But I can talk to you more about what goes into the design and the regulations that are behind that, if that's necessary. There was really two for this reason.
Thank you for updating us, and I know you mentioned you didn't have anything to add, but it's great to have updates so that we have open communication with the community, because as you know, we have a number of road projects that are coming. There's Oregon Avenue, Bingham Drive, we had the DC Water project before, so our community has, I think, been really patient with all of the construction, and we appreciate your agencies. But what we do want to ensure is that as we go forward, that we continue to have open communications, and so if you can update the ANC on a regular basis. We may not have updates monthly, but at least as soon as you have the information provided to us, that would be helpful. I know we generally reach out, commissioners, and ask questions, but if we could have another, avenue, we'd appreciate that, because that way our residents can plan, for their lives
That's certainly what the plan is. My community affairs office will update you periodically. We'll even come back out to meetings as we gather any more information and give you and provide any updates that's necessary. We have no problem.
Yes, that would be great.
Yeah, so we can definitely do that. And again, the good news, like I say, we're all actively working together. We understand the need to get the roadway open. We really do, and we're working hard toward that. We want to show you that.
One other question relating to the Oregon Avenue reconstruction work that's going to begin either the end of this year or the beginning of next year. Looks like it will overlap with the work that you're doing. How are you coordinating with DDOT on the work that they're doing to make sure that you're going to have as little interference between the two projects as possible?
So the National Park Service meets monthly with the District Department of Transportation. So these projects are going to be on our list for our next month's discussion. So we'll make sure that we're coordinating our efforts. And if anything comes up, we'll let you know. But as it stands right now, there shouldn't be any, there shouldn't be any interference between the two projects.
Well, I know that they're beginning at the north end of Oregon Avenue, so it shouldn't be very far away from where you're working on Bingham Drive. Is there going to be any work that when you're doing Bingham Drive that's going to require closure of Oregon Avenue at all?
Not that I'm aware of. I can check with our branch back there, our development group, and find out for sure, and we can report that back as well. I'll take that back, try to get an answer on that.
If I could just add to your initial thing, I mean, part of the reason why this project went forward the way it did was because of that coordination between DDOT and DC Water, realizing that Oregon Avenue was being reconstructed, that it was the time to come in and do that sanitary line work prior to that construction, and they sequenced that in such a way so that they wouldn't be getting in each other's way.
And then the last piece on that, I know the last project we were, Mr. Thomas, on the DC water construction, you all came out and met with the ANC commissioners about the signage and detours and traffic patterns. And I just wanted to make sure that as this project moves forward, we can do that again to ensure that it's easier, because at that point, you may know we had a number of people who cut through our neighborhood in some ways, and our residents need to leave, but having that meeting with you all actually helps in terms of the Knollwood retirement community and their access, and we just want to be able to coordinate that as well.
So I have shared the success with that, us reaching out and informing you guys of the detours. So they're aware that they need to piggyback on that and do the same thing that we did with you guys on this project. Again, I'll follow up on that and give you guys a response back on that as well, just to ensure but it was good. It really helped us too.
Okay.
So my name is Emmanuel Briggs. I'm the manager of community outreach in DC Water. So you will see differently. You're probably used to seeing Tanya Hedgepeth. She was like the special reach coordinator. She has left DC Water. And so I was coming here tonight to basically tell you that. Her last day was actually last Wednesday, the 23rd. And so you'll see somewhat different in the course of finishing up this project. So until that happens, if there are any community updates to provide, it'll be coming from me directly. Again, I'm Emmanuel Briggs, the manager of the outreach program. So we send those things from me until we have a replacement.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Yeah, Briggs, B-R-I-G-G-S. First name Emmanuel, E-M-A-N-U-E-L.
Great. We're glad to have you. Thanks a lot. Tanya, by the way, has done a great job. We really
Yes,
appreciate
and I am
her outreach.
sadder than you are, because she handled lots of projects and lots of everything. And I had her position before she came on board, and so I let her know that she was even better than I was in that role. We were all sad to see her leave, but we're going to try to move forward and hopefully find a replacement that is as good or better, if that's even humanly possible. So that sort of community outreach and that engagement can carry on.
We appreciate that. Thank you. Anyone have any comments or questions with regard to Bingham Drive? Yes, sir. Can you come up here, please, and introduce yourself first?
My name's Hugh Howard. I live on 31st Street near Emerson. And I was wondering if we had a timeline for the Bingham Drive reconstruction. If there was, I could hear it. If you guys mentioned it, I could hear it.
So, as we stated earlier, we're looking at early spring. Hopefully that's the latest timeline. The biggest reason is for that asphalt plants to get ready to close down. It's all weather dependent. It's temperature ridden. So if we can get the approvals in time to get the asphalt, we'll go right to work. If not, we'll have to wait for the asphalt plants to open back up. But even with that being said, we're looking at the latest early spring.
And then how long will construction take?
I would say 6 to 8 weeks.
45 days.
Oh, really?
It's not that much work, it's actually.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, well, thank you very much, all of you, for coming.
Thank you.
Some of you, many of you have been here before, we appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, I suspect many of you, perhaps all of you now, have come here because of the comprehensive plan. Just a show of hands, if you're here for that purpose, that's what I thought. Okay. Let me tell you at the outset that we're not going to talk about the substance of the comprehensive plan tonight. I know all of you have probably got your ideas about it. That's not the purpose of this meeting tonight. As we said in our agenda item, what we're planning to do tonight is decide how we're going to proceed to address this rather large and somewhat daunting task of looking at the comprehensive plan. And so that's the purpose of the meeting tonight. It's not to decide what positions the commission is going to take, not to get information from the community about their concerns tonight. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk about setting up a task force that would address these issues, would come back to the commission with proposals, and would give the commission then an opportunity to consider those and evaluate them and vote on them. So that's just by way of introduction. I don't want to get anybody's hopes up that we're going to be discussing, density levels on Connecticut Avenue or anything like that. All we're going to talk about tonight is how we're going to proceed to address this. And first, because I'm not sure what everyone's level of understanding is about the comprehensive plan and the process, I'm just going to go through some of the background on how we got to the position where we are today. And then we can talk about how we want to proceed as a commission going forward to address the issues that are remaining before us in the comprehensive plan. First, as probably most of you know, the comprehensive plan is a 20-year framework that guides the district's future growth and development. It was originally adopted in 2006, then it was amended again in 2011. And it addresses a wide range of topics, including land use, economic development, housing, environmental protection, historic preservation, and transportation. And we're now in the middle of literally in the middle of a process to amend the plan again. The DC Office of Planning, the process that they go through is the DC Office of Planning first develops amendments based on comments from residents, developers, and their staff. It's a process that began more than 2 years ago, and they took a lot of comments. Can you close the door, please? Thank you. They took a lot of comments from the community, from developers, all kinds of people who made comments on it. It was not probably as robust an outreach effort as we would have all liked, but they did at least make some effort to get community input. Once it assembled all of that, and there were literally thousands of comments, they put those together in a recommended plan. And they then have to go to the council to get approval for that. It's a draft at that point. It's not final in any sense. But then they present it to the council. The council may and probably will hold hearings about the proposed changes, and then the council will adopt a final comprehensive plan. And there are 3 major sections of the comprehensive plan. The first is a framework element, and this provides the context really for the rest of the plan. It describes changes in demographics, economics, technology, finances. It describes the district's growth and forecasts and predictions, and it shows how and where the district expects to add households, people, and jobs through 2045. And the framework element essentially tells the story of how the district is expected to change over the next 2 decades. The next group of elements within the comprehensive plan are the citywide elements, and these describe the vision of the district's future for land use, economic development, housing, arts and culture, environmental protection, transportation, community services and facilities, educational facilities, urban design, historic preservation, infrastructure, which includes things like utilities, parks and recreation, and open space. And on a more aggregate level, too, the plan includes a future land use map and a generalized policy map that are, in the words of the Office of Planning, used as a generalized guide for development and conservation decisions. And finally, the last big section of the comprehensive plan is the area elements, which focus on planning for particular parts of the city. And ANC 34G is in what they call Rock Creek West. And so that particular geographic element will also be important for us. The Office of Planning first tried to tackle the framework element, and they submitted that to the council in January 2018. A year and a half ago, more than a year and a half ago. There was some controversy about whether they should proceed, the council should proceed with the framework element before they saw all the rest of it. And there were several council members who objected pretty strenuously to the fact that they were having to look at the framework element, the broad picture, without knowing the specifics. And nevertheless, the council did go ahead and consider the framework element separately. And they held hearings. It was really a marathon session. Some of you may have actually been there. It's March 20th, 2018. And the commission, our commission, submitted testimony in that hearing. Our testimony was pretty extensive. We addressed 2 primary concerns. One, that by modifying the Office of Planning's population growth projections to account for factors that will diminish unbridled growth and preserve, well, let me rephrase that. The Office of Planning's proposal did not take into account, it had these grand population growth projections that we were going to have 1 million people by 2040. But it did not account for factors that will diminish that kind of growth and will preserve neighborhoods and communities. We thought they were overly aggressive in the kind of projections that they were making. And second, by eliminating unnecessary we were concerned that OP had unnecessarily and counterproductively attempted to dilute the comprehensive plan with what they call flexibility, but we thought it was just making it open-ended so we wouldn't know what the outcomes would be. We submitted that testimony in March 2018. The council did not come back with its modifications based on all the testimony that it received until more than a year later, on July 2nd, 2019. And they released a number of changes then to the proposed framework element. And then they took it up a week later on July 9th and passed it on first reading. So there was really no opportunity at that point for any input from the community on the changes that the council had made. On July 22nd, our commission again passed a resolution, and we objected to the process that the council had gone through, that it had not given any stakeholders in the process an opportunity to really comment on what changes they had made. And we also reiterated our concerns about the projections on population growth that didn't take into account all the ramifications that that would have for our neighborhoods and for infrastructure in the city. On October 15th, then, the council, on October 8th, the council then passed the framework element with almost no changes from what had been originally proposed. On October 15th, then, the Office of Planning released the proposed amendments to the remaining elements of the comprehensive plan. That's the citywide elements and the area elements. The full draft of the comprehensive plan is available on the Office of Planning's website, and it's very lengthy, very detailed, very technical in a lot of respects. The Office of Planning is planning to hold public meetings in each ward to discuss its proposal and to answer questions. And the meetings for Ward 3 are to be held on December 7th from 10 to 12. That's a Saturday, from 10 to 12 at Wilson High School. And the meetings for Ward 4, since we overlap between Ward 3 and Ward 4, is set for November 19th from 6 to 8 at Roosevelt High School. So there would be opportunities then for people to go and ask questions, to talk to the technical people at the Office of Planning about why they did certain things and whether there were changes that could be made. We have also reached out to the directors of the Office of Planning and have asked them to come to our ANC meeting on December 9th. That will be a meeting, we probably will devote most of the meeting to the comprehensive plan, and it's designed to get input from the Office of Planning and to have them answer any questions that we have at that point. As I've indicated, we've been actively involved in this process for a long time, and we understand that there have been a lot of serious concerns about the way the Office of Planning has proposed changes to the comprehensive plan. We intend to continue to be active in this process going forward. The Office of Planning has laid out a proposed schedule for ANCs to consider the comprehensive plan. One of the things they've asked is, they said that comments from the community should come to the ANC by December 20th. And that would be in time to give the ANCs an opportunity to review those comments, to prepare resolutions, and to submit those resolutions before the end of January next year. So really that's the timetable that we're working on, is getting all of the input from the community by December 20th. Then we probably will address this at our first meeting in January, which I think is on January 13th, 2020. And then we'll probably take up the final resolution on January 27th, at our January 27th meeting, 2020. So as you can see, this is sort of an ambitious process and project that we're undertaking. There are other ANCs who are equally interested in doing something about the comprehensive plan. We've been in communications with ANC 3D, 3E, and 4A, and they have reached out to us, and we've in turn reached out to them to see if there are ways where we can cooperate, and if we have common issues where we can address those common issues together. Maybe we can share our information and collaborate on resolutions. That's what we're considering at this point, that possibility. What we would propose to do, what I would propose to do, and we'll have the commission discuss it and consider it, is to create a task force that would study the Office of Planning's draft, gather information from the community, and then make recommendations to the commission. All of that before December 20th. task force will consist of commissioners and residents, but everybody would be invited to participate. We would hold meetings where everyone could come. If any of you are familiar with what we've done when we were considering the modernization of the community center, we had commissioners who were involved in that process, but we also invited the public to every one of our meetings to talk about that. We had 16 different meetings about the community center. So we're going to do the same kind of thing here too. And we'd like to get everybody's input. I mean, other things that the task force could consider, for instance, would be whether we want to conduct a community survey. That might be a desirable thing to do, and we probably have enough time where we can do it. The task force will need, as I said, to hold a number of meetings over the next 6 weeks. It's going to be a pretty intensive effort, I think. And simultaneously, we're going to be dealing with the community center modernization, and that's going to all get kicked off pretty soon too. So we're going to be very busy over the next several weeks. But the objective would be that by January 13th next year, we would have a set of proposed resolutions, and we can discuss those at our meeting, and then by the end of the month, the 27th, we can vote on those resolutions and have something to present to the Office of Planning. Now, that's not the end of the process, however. The Office of Planning then goes back, takes all of these comments, and will then submit its final proposal for the comprehensive plan to the council sometime next spring, probably, or maybe even summer. And then the council, if the past is any indication, will take a long, long time to come up with the final version. And it will probably hold hearings. Hopefully they're not going to be in the same format that they had last time, which the hearings began at 10 o'clock in the morning and went until I think 2 o'clock the next morning. And that was really not productive, I thought. So anyway, that's the background for the situation we're in now, to consider what we do going forward. I'd like to hear from, first of all, hear from the commissioners as to what they think, and then we'll hear from all of you.
Jared, you want to start? I just want to add one thing to your excellent summary. The testimony that we did provide March 20th, 2018, it's a 6-page testimony on the comprehensive plan framework. For those that aren't familiar with that, that is available on the ANC website. If you go to the ANC website, it's listed under public testimonies, so you could just download that and read that and sort of get an idea of where we were coming from when we submitted that testimony a year and a half ago.
Yeah, and when we put out the minutes, which will come out later this week or early next week, I will include the link to our testimony, to the resolution that we passed, and to the comprehensive plan, the full comprehensive plan. So you have all the resources available to you as well. Anyone else have comments or thoughts on that? Okay, anyone in the audience? First of all, let's see, who would like to speak? Got 2. 3?
First time I was making the same, we want to try to deal with tonight. So,
okay, well, I don't want to get into any of the substance, none of the substance tonight, because this is too big an issue to try to deal with cold at this point. We're going to deal with it through a smaller group that can focus on it and really study it and come up with some good recommendations. Okay, we'll begin. Dave, you want to start? Yes, please.
My first comment, going through
Identify yourself first.
Dave Engel, former ANC member, and now happily retired, is that there are so many issues. The first task of the task force should be really whittling it down to the 4 or 5 or 6 major issues that impact our ANC, because no sense going over things that have been covered all over, and talk about the city, about bicycles in the city, and there are 4 or 5 issues that hit us, right? And those will people will understand. If you start going on one thing after the other, it'll be an end of show. My second point is the resources that are in the community. There's some extraordinary people who have worked on land use planning. Some of them are very audio. Some of them have very strong opinions, like ANC, but are extraordinarily knowledgeable. And we should be drawing upon those people, of course, Chris, not Mark. We should be drawing on these outside resources. And really, we should reach out to them, because I would coffee, I would just other people like that. We should reach out to them to get them involved.
Former Commissioner Lee Shenaker, too, is the city planner.
Right.
That's it. Okay. Thank you, Dave. Johnny.
My name is Jonathan Guy, and I know you said you didn't want to get into the substance, and I don't think anybody does. They probably want to go home. But could you tell the community what the Office of Planning has proposed, consistent with Mr. Beach's comments, what the Office of Planning in broad terms has proposed for the changes to the community center land use and the Connecticut Avenue land use designations? In broad terms, so we understand this.
You were more familiar with that than I am. So I'll let you describe it. I am not fully up to speed yet, I will acknowledge. And so if you want to tell us what those proposed changes are, sure. Subject to checking all of this out when we go back and look at it ourselves.
So I'm not a land use lawyer, and I only found out about this a week or so ago because Betsy, my neighbor, said, "Did you read the post on the listserv?" And I'm not on the listserv. Because she asked me, I went. Oh, you can hear me now?
Yeah.
So I'm not a land use lawyer, and I only got exposed to this issue a week or so ago. But it's all on the Office of Planning website. And what the Office of Planning has proposed in response to developer requests and their own initiative in terms of increased population in DC is that for the area of Connecticut Avenue, from Livingston up to Chevy Chase Circle on both sides, right now that is in the map for the future development of the city. Right now that is designated low-density commercial. So low-density commercial, what does that mean? It means what you see if you walk up Connecticut Avenue right now. 1 to 2 story buildings. There is some offices there, as you see at the Exxon area, the nail salon and the like, but all the way up. What the Office of Planning has proposed to change, and this is not just for our area, but I want to focus on our area, is they want to change the land use designation. I'm going to focus first on the community center and the library. They want to change the land use designation for the community center and the library, which is right now just public use, which is what you see here, it's just public use. They want to change that to mixed use, public use, low density commercial, and even though there's been a question about this as to whether it's medium density or moderate density residential, the Office of Planning and Zoning has said that they meant it to be moderate density commercial. So, residential, I'm sorry. So what that means is the Office of Planning and Zoning contemplates an appropriate use for this area where the community center and library is located would be public use, presumably on the ground floor, maybe some commercial use on the ground floor, like if you see the West End Library, if you've been down there, you'll see there's a cafe there, with residences above it, okay? They're contemplating that. They're also contemplating, in response to developer requests, all up Connecticut Avenue to the circle, on both sides, changing the designation from low density commercial to mixed use, moderate density residential, low density commercial. So that means, ultimately, if developers ask to change zoning for the area, that they would look back to that map and say, we're asking for something that's consistent with these changes.
And what does that mean in real terms? We don't really know. We've asked. We've tried to get some clarity on that. But what it does mean is likely displacement of the existing businesses that are there, replacement with larger buildings with residences on top of them, similar to the sort of things that you see if you go up Wisconsin Avenue. But we don't know the density, particularly we don't know the height, particularly in Boston. So that's the status as we know it.
Thank you, Jonathan. There are lots and lots of other issues too that we may want to address, but that's certainly one that we will want to address one way or the other. And we'll look at it very, very carefully. Yes, sir.
I'm Stuart Miles McLean. I live on 39th Street. I just wanted to follow up with a question about your summary, which was very good, and I should thank you all for all the work you've done so far on this. But it sounded like maybe the mayor's representative or the councilman, it sounds like from your summary, Office of Planning is going to try to limit public input to input that is channeled through ANCs. Not that they're going to denigrate that, but is there going to be a wide open?
No, anybody can submit any comments that they want. That is not going to be limited at all. But given the fact that there's also pending in the council right now legislation that will require the Office of Planning to give great weight to ANC's views on this. There had been a previous Attorney General determination that the Office of Planning did not have to give great weight to ANCs. But I think that Office of Planning is recognizing that's probably an untenable political position, and so they have said that they're going to give particular weight, I think, to what the ANCs say. So it would be advantageous if we funnel as much as possible through the ANC. But that doesn't prevent anyone, anywhere in the city, from making comments. Everybody will have a full opportunity to do that.
Okay, and while I'm up here, just people might want to think about revisiting that historic neighborhood designation that we rejected a few years ago, because that might be an opportunity. It was a close call then.
It wasn't a close call. Wasn't a close call. It was 70% against 30% for. Don't state facts.
Okay.
But there's facts and there's false facts. You know that, Mr. President.
Okay, no, that's fine. I won't challenge you on that, but it still might be an opportunity to revisit that decision that was made previously, and the factors have changed a lot as the developers are getting more powerful.
Okay, one at a time, if you could come up, sir, with the blue shirt.
Name is Ronald Kahn, 3726 Livingston.
Last name again?
Kahn, K-A-H-N. So my question, my observation is you mentioned that the other ANCs are sharing a similar situation, and I look at this very comprehensive in terms of the nature of the process going forward. I think we all agree on that. So I would be very supportive more early than late in the process to see what kind of consortium you can put together with ANCs in order to kind of sort out the type of effort you got to put forward to put these what we call resolutions together. Okay, I'm not sure of what a resolution is in terms of its definition or power. Can you quickly?
A resolution is basically just a statement of the ANC's views and the support that it has. Right? A part of the ANC's job, as I said at the very beginning, we don't have authority to do anything. Our authority comes from our persuasion. If we can persuade the council that the logic favors our view, or that the community is so strongly against whatever is being done, that will carry a great weight, and we're more likely to prevail. So, and we're also more likely to prevail if, as you suggested, ANCs work together, and there are multiple ANCs saying similar or consistent things.
Before long, this will all go on their separate ways if you wait anymore.
Yeah, and that we have reached out to these that I think we will have some things in common.
Okay, my last question is on the legal side. Have there been any potential discussions of any challenges on process related to when the plan was put together in any inappropriate ways that may shed more light in that area? I know that's an expensive question, but I just wonder if process has been broken in some way, shape, or form, and there might be an interest among the consortium, again, because it's hard to
Well,
address.
ANCs are precluded. We're part of the DC government, so we can't sue another part of the DC government. So we really can't bring legal action in that sense. And I don't know whether any private parties have considered it or not. And I think from what I've seen thus far, the Office of Planning is trying to bend over backwards to make sure that they have given opportunities to comment.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Jennifer Lee from Oliver Street, Greater Bingham Drive. My question was, have you given any thought to special efforts to disseminate information to the community about this? I think it's potentially huge changes afoot that are going to affect all of us. And, you know, most people don't even read the listserv regularly, and I don't think ANC meetings are usually this well attended. I've never been to one before. So that's my question.
Well, our ANC has made an effort over the last couple of years, primarily through Commissioner Mallett's, to increase the opportunities that we have to communicate to people. We have now a a newsletter that we send out to about 1,000 people. And you can go on our website and sign up for the newsletter, and certainly that will have some additional information about the process.
So you have to go, but you have to go to the website to sign up for it? Because again, I don't think people know about it.
Sure, go ahead, Jerry.
There are a few things. I'm just going to go through the list of things that we've made available. And Commissioner Clayman, who's not here tonight, about 4 or 5 months ago started putting out an ANC-wide newsletter. So that's one thing. And you don't have to, once you sign up, it gets delivered to your inbox immediately when it comes out. I put out my own newsletter, same thing. I put one out the first of the month. The ANC one comes out the 15th of the month. So there's really 2 points in time during the month, and both of them have about 1,000 subscribers to them. We also post things on Nextdoor, which has a much bigger audience, potential audience, than does the listserv. About 3 weeks ago, we reconstituted our Facebook page, which isn't, the greatest thing to be on Facebook for many reasons, but we're up to about 500 followers on that. The listserv, the Google list that exists, there are about 500 people on that, so we've really attacked. We have a Twitter account, we have a Facebook account, we have 2 different newsletters, we have Nextdoor, we have a lot of things, and we have the video that we put out tomorrow morning of this meeting on our YouTube channel. People could subscribe to that YouTube channel as well, and we have both on the website and the newsletters ways that you can subscribe to this. And what we try to do on the videos is not just, here's a 2-hour video, but we put points in time that everything is discussed. So you just click on a time and it takes you right into the video that's being discussed. So like tomorrow for this meeting, you won't have to wade through everything else if you don't want to, so you can do that. So there are a lot of different mechanisms that we're trying to use now. I think we've exhausted what we can do with, especially with our limited resources. So we're using every available avenue that we can.
Well, we are certainly open to the community and any ideas for our meetings. As Commissioner Mallett mentioned, I'm Commissioner Garfield. So great to meet you and everyone else who's here. For the last 2 years, we have posted the videos, but if you have additional ideas for how we can move forward, and usually every issue, we try to be as proactive as possible. We either have our regular ANC meeting, and we often call special meetings regarding topics, and as Commissioner Speck mentioned, we do have task force, so we do want to walk hand in hand with the community, and if you have additional ideas for how we can move forward on this project, in addition to the work we've done, we definitely want to do it, so we're open to that.
You can go. Just one other thing, when previous speaker, Stewart, I think it was, mentioned something, and you talked about persuasion. Anytime that when we had a couple of task forces on this community center, the commissioners and members of the general public helped put together a questionnaire that we sent out, announcing it through all of these different mechanisms. And we got about 950 responses to that. And when we went forward to our request for the modernization of this building, being able to have real data representing the views of 950 respondents was a lot more powerful than some anecdotal data that just would be, these people think this. Well, we had the proof, and we got the funding that, or close to the funding that we requested, at least 90%, 85, 90% of that funding. So, as Commissioner Speck mentioned, perhaps when we continue down the road on this, that's something that we might want to do, is to have a survey that we really publicize as much as we can through the community, so when we come forward with a resolution by ourselves or with other ANCs, we can say that this represents the views of so many people, and that's a lot more persuasive and powerful than anything else that we can do.
Well, didn't the funding actually double? Because originally they came to us, from the original they came with 8 million, and then from there it went up to about 18 million.
19 million.
After 19 million after the ANC and the community worked jointly together and put together a great survey and great results. And based on that, it was more, initially they wanted to do patchwork renovation for the center. And based on what the ANC and the community presented in the report, it had totally changed.
Yeah. Using data to inform decision making is a powerful tool. Real data.
Take advantage of just, you were asking other ideas on our block, when we have sort of an informal telephone tree of email. So if somebody in our block, we don't have each other's emails, we don't use them as a group very often, but if something comes up we think is important to the block, somebody sends me, just replies to it all. The last time something came up, it's an easy way to flag it because we're not all on the listserv, we're not all looking at the YouTube videos and those kinds of things. So those are all great tools, and so if somebody sees one of those and says, oh, that doesn't mean that on our block to know, you might want to look at this.
Yeah, we will encourage everyone to pass along whatever information we're going to be publishing. And those email chains are very useful. And it's another way to amplify the amount of information that we get out to the community. Okay, anyone else? Okay, yes ma'am.
My name is Mary Louise Foss, and I live on Western Avenue. And I just have a quick question. What type of skills or experience are you looking for in your task force members? You said that members of the community were welcome to join, and what types of things would be useful to you, or what do you hope to see from this person?
City planning experience would be very helpful.
And if we're not that?
Well, as I said, this is going to be pretty informal. And we're going to have a few people who are willing to work a lot, and because it's going to take a lot of work. And anyone who's willing to work a lot, I think probably is going to be welcome. But also, anybody who wants to come to these meetings, we're going to have a lot of meetings, and we're going to invite everybody to come, and we'll talk it through and take everybody's time. So it's not like this committee, this task force is going to be exclusive, and nobody else can join in. It will be available to others to participate in as well. And mean, we're going to have to be fairly rigorous in the process that we go through, and I think Dave's suggestion of focusing in on a few key points is really important, because we're not going to have an impact if we try to tell the Office of Planning they made a mistake in 25 different ways. If we tell them that they made these 5 mistakes that they need to correct, then we're going to be more likely to succeed.
How do people tell you they're interested in the task force?
Pardon?
And how do they tell you they're interested in joining the task force and their qualifications or what they think they
Yeah,
can
if you're interested, why don't you just email me, and my email address is 3g03@anc.dc.gov. And Becky's idea is very good. Explain to me what your particular interest might be, and also if you have any particular qualifications.
I just suggest that if some of the people here are on somewhat speaking terms, or they know other commissioners, that they could email them first, and then we could funnel them through to you, so you don't just get swamped with a lot of them. We can sort of serve as the conduit to get to you. That'd be fine.
My name is Betsy. I'm in Narsala. I live 3723 Morrison, which is next door to the Safeway parking lot. I've only been involved in this for a couple of weeks, and it's very complicated information, and I'm worried about the fact that, first of all, very few people know anything about it, and it's really hard to explain the whole thing, as you probably know better than I do. And I think the one thing we have to do is keep, however many people are here, the next meeting there will be twice as many people here, if you're talking about this comprehensive plan. And once you get the resolutions that you guys are going to support out of the commission, we have to publicize that so that everybody who lives in Chevy Chase, if not Rock Creek West, knows what this is. And we have to track how the city's going to handle those resolutions, because they can just do whatever they want. As you say, it's just a suggestion. And so that whenever the point comes where the citizens are going to have to organize to do something to support what you guys have done, it might not be in October 2019, but it might be June 2020. But we have to keep the momentum. We have to get more and more people aware of this, following it, so that when the time comes that we have to do something more, we will be organized to do it.
And we have to let council members know that November 2020, their jobs are on the line, and they need to listen to their constituents.
Right.
Okay, yes. We're going to take just a couple more questions and comments.
Sarah McNamara at 3706 Livingston Street. Again, I want to stay with this issue of people in the community hearing about this. And I miss the Northwest Current so much. And I fear that it will do what many of us don't want to happen, which, Jerry, you're talking about the importance of data. And that alone, the end of the Northwest Current, which people saw headlines of passively, or picked up sometimes. That was a really key way to know what was going on. And I know so many of us have email and electronic overload and will not go to the trouble of looking at things. I too found out about this by accident, as many of us did, just Saturday. But what I did hear was from the Washington Post headline that said, Muriel Bowser wants to build more affordable housing in every part of the city. So what's getting out through the Post, through Bowser's office, seems to be, this is about affordable housing. So my own thought process was, oh, well, maybe that's not great, I don't know all the details, but probably affordable housing in our neighborhood is a good idea. So misinformation is getting through very clearly. And that's why I wondered, my question really is about whether the ANC has a budget or a small budget for just sending out or having people volunteer to do that very simple task of going door to door, putting on people's doorsteps, this is the meeting, this is the issue, that kind of thing. I think it has to be print. Print delivered to houses.
We did that with our survey when we did the community center. Several of us went out door to door, people in our neighborhood. And I think it was effective. I mean, ultimately, people are just technophobes, we're going to have a hard time communicating.
Right, but it kind of, plus the absence of Northwest Current, which was, you know, such an important vehicle. I think, and so even if there's a way for people to volunteer for something less than the task force, but just, will you go door to door and drop off flyers, you know, a lot of people would be very willing to do that.
I think, especially when we get to the point where we're going to be collecting data, which I hope we do, that could be a very important step. Yes, Jonathan.
So I just wanted to add, and maybe the ANC can post it on their website, the most helpful document to read here is the red line that the Office of Planning has put out to the comprehensive plan, the framework element that Mr. Speck just spoke about. It's already been approved by our council and Mary Chet unanimously. If you look at the red line, you'll see why the changes are so important. And then if you look at the red line for the Rock Creek West element, and perhaps the ANC can post those on its website so people can go and see it, because it's very difficult to get that out of the Office of Planning website. And I'll just give you one example to highlight everybody's attention. The current plan, as written, says that when the zoning commission is deciding whether to grant a developer's request to change zoning, it must take into account that the request is generally compatible with the physical and visual character of the surrounding neighborhood. Our DC Council has struck that completely. So I urge everybody to look at the red line. You'll see what I saw. I was actually horrified. In the Rock Creek West element, it has planning and development priorities in the current plan. And they talk about all the things that we care about. Schools, transportation, parking, neighborhood feel. It talks about all of that in the current plan. That has been deleted wholesale. It is not there anymore. So take a look.
Those links will be in the minutes for this meeting. I've already got them in my notes.
Thank you.
It is the last comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, you had this long plan about redoing this community center, but if part of the city's plan is to sell this property to a developer for a multi-use building, how does that work?
I think that horse has already left the barn, because we have an architect under contract to do the renovation work on this building, and that's going forward. We have a construction schedule, or at least a possible construction schedule. That's going forward, and I don't think that's going to change. I think, just as a practical matter, there's nothing that's going to be done about that. That's not going to change.
So you don't think that it would happen that you
No.
fix this and then you'll tear it down later?
No, I'm not so sure I'm optimistic as Commissioner Speck is on that. I've worked on many projects. Midway through the project, there's zoning change in the project, which will go on all the way to be revised. So I think we all need to be diligent on this issue. We'll be tracking this as it tracks the design of the community center also.
Which is a good segue to the next item on our agenda. We are going to move on. I did want to I think we ought to have a formal resolution about what we're going to do with regard to the task force, and I did prepare something. What? 3G03@anc.dc.gov.
I also just wanted to, one of our constituents mentioned, the ANC and our budget. I know we're going to get into that in a minute, but as most of you know, we are funded by the district government, and it's a very small allotment, so we are elected officials. However, we're volunteering.
Please be quiet as you leave. If you're leaving, please be quiet.
And so with project assistance, even with our surveys, we had an extremely limited budget with respect to that. So, and as as you will see, and if you look at a number of our minutes, you know, we're open and transparent, you know how much we receive. We receive quarterly allotments for the city. So I want you to know that our ANC has limited funding, and so your help and your expertise and many of these tasks that we're doing, we're volunteering. So the individuals who will be helping us on the task force or any issues moving forward, we would definitely appreciate volunteers and things of that nature, because we do have a very limited budget, and we just wanted you to know that as well. We work as hard as we can, and we hope we can work with you too.
And none of that budget comes to any of the commissioners.
No.
Okay, what I would propose is a resolution to create a comprehensive plan task force that would be chaired by the chairman of the commission, and with up to 2 other commissioners and up to 4, or it could be even more than that, resident constituent members. And the task force will make proposals to the commission no later than December 20th. The commission will discuss at its January 13th meeting possible adoption of resolutions, and then the resolutions would be adopted at the January 27th meeting. So is there a second to that? A modification?
To 4, so you're going to say 2 or more? Or 2 between 2 and 6, or 2 and...
Yeah, well, what I had in mind was 4. 4 resident members, 2 commissioners, and anybody else can participate.
We have 2 commissioners, maybe more commissioners.
Well, commissioners can participate as they want. Okay, with those modifications, all those in favor of the resolution? Or is there a second person? Second. Those in favor? 6-0. Okay, we'll move on then to a brief discussion, an update on the activities with regard to the community center. And Chris has already foreshadowed that a bit with his announcements, but you want to mention that again, Chris?
Sure. So I've been in contact with both the Department of Parks and Recreation, the project manager, and I also spoken to the architect who's been hired by the city. He's actually a good architect. He's done a number of buildings for DC. He's pretty well known around town, so I think we had a good selection there, so that's one thing not to worry about. The schedule has, I have not been able to get a clear-cut schedule of the design for this. The Parks and Recreation, either the Parks and Recreation or the architect would give me a schedule, which does worry me a little bit, because the longer it takes to build this building, the less money we have, because inflation, we have a fixed budget of $19 million, and 3% inflation a year. So I think I figured every year you lose $300,000 a year. We have a major meeting coming up on November 6th, 7 p.m. right here in the auditorium.
Can you move the microphone a little bit one way or another? It's not working well.
It's not working. My throat's a little
No, it's the microphone, not you.
Okay. Anyway, November 6th, 7 p.m. here at the community center. The architect's going to be there. The Parks and Recreation's going to be there. Our committee will be there, and as many neighbors that want to come are encouraged to come to this meeting. We're going to talking to the architect. He does not want to present ideas for what he thinks he wants to do. He wants to hear from the community about what they want. So I think that's somewhat of a stall, but it'll be an interesting meeting, and it'll be a time to get, if you have an interest in the community center, it's a good time to get your thoughts out. The survey that we conducted last year, where 950 plus people answered it, formed the basis for the program of the new community center. So the size of the center and the spaces in the center are all based on input from the community, and also from some of the tenants here, such as the fencing people, the ballet people, and others. So we have a good, solid basis to start with, and So I encourage as many people who want to participate to be here. There's no apartments on top of the building right now. And there's nothing. And once this thing gets constructed, it's too late. That should go to sale. So at least that part of that block, what it is. And on October 30th, which is Wednesday, the committee, the task force, which is 7 people, will meet briefly. The meeting is being real serious. We'll meet briefly here just to talk about the process, design process, and what we can expect going forward. So if anybody has any questions about the design review committee, commissioners have anything.
I just want to point out that we also will video those meetings, the one on November 6th, so that if people can't attend, we'll have it on our YouTube channel.
Yes, the major meetings will be on the video.
Also, I will mention as well, I've got a separate task force from Chris's that deals with construction logistics issues. What happens? Where do the construction workers park? Where do the trucks park? What's the staging area for the construction? All of those kinds of things that will be disruptive during construction. And so there's a task force we created for that purpose as well. We will be there for this opening kickoff meeting, because there may be construction-related issues that come up. But that task force is also going to be working with the Department of General Services, and what our objective is to include restrictions on where workers can park, where trucks can go, all of those kinds of things included in the construction contracts, which may be let sometime latter half of next year. And so that aspect of the project is also being considered. And then Jerry and Abe are also heading a task force that focuses on what we do with the programs that are here now, and where do we find places for them when the community center is not available. And now I think, despite the fact that Chris doesn't have a hard schedule from the designer, it's inconceivable to me that there would be anything like construction beginning for at least until next fall. Probably it's probably a year away.
Well, actually, this is an unusual contract in which they bring the contractor on early in the middle of the design phase, and so following your schedule, I've taken the schedule I did get back in March 6th this year, which is when the project was originally supposed to have been awarded, and it was awarded approximately 7 months later. So I've taken that schedule and escalated it, advanced it 7 months, which should be somewhat accurate. So it shows construction, beginning of construction at July 1st approximately. But I don't believe it's going to happen.
I think that's overly optimistic, given the fact we have a 7-month delay getting it started. Okay. Anything else? Any questions about the community center?
So what is that task force about where the activities are going to take place? When is that task force going to take place? Have you made a date for that?
No, there is nothing for that.
Okay. Laura Scally recommended that we move into the Children's Episcopal Home.
Right. Yeah, we've been compiling a list of all the places that people have been recommending, but until we actually start getting a better idea, and maybe after these next couple of meetings, what the schedule is going to be, we can't really start finalizing plans to say we need it by June or we need it by September. So we need to get a little more information before we could really move forward on those things. But we've been compiling all that information.
Okay. We have several commissioned business activities that we need to take care of now. That ends the substantive part of our meeting. First, the approval of our September 23rd minutes. Those were published on our website on the listservs and circulated to commissioners. Any modifications or changes to the minutes? All those in favor of approving the minutes? 6-0. Okay, the next item is the discussion on our budget for FY 2020. And Alan has prepared the budget, and it basically works off of our experience in FY 2019. And there are a couple of items that Alan and I discussed that I might mention. One is the grants. We do have a pretty substantial carryover from last fiscal year that we didn't spend on grants, or mostly because we couldn't get the information from the Office of ANC about what they would approve and what they wouldn't approve. And we still don't have any firm guidance from the Office of ANC on that, despite the fact that we raised that with the Oversight Committee at the Council, and particularly with Councilmember White, and we still haven't gotten anything. But we're going to have, we had a substantial amount we can carry over, but I thought we ought to be prudent in not committing all of those to grants this year, because we may incur some costs related to community center. And we're going to have to move our office somewhere else. It's even possible that we might have to rent space somewhere, or pay for space. So I think it would be prudent not to do more than $4,000 in our budget for grants. And probably that would occur at sometime in the spring. But I got nervous about reducing that ending balance too low, given the uncertainty we have about what costs are going to be incurred with regard to the community center.
I would even do it lower, because we don't know if there's going to be delays in the community center.
Yeah.
And if we're out of money for rent, what would we do?
Yeah.
I'd rather have it that we move it out after the community center.
Yeah, that's fine with me if that's what.
We may have to pay for space too.
Yeah, we may have to.
You know, a number of businesses volunteer to give us their space for free, which we can't do.
Right.
So we may have to end up having to raise them.
Well, you want to reduce that from $4,000 to $2,000?
I don't know what rent's for.
We typically announce the grant period starting in the fall.
Right.
So we haven't done that yet.
No.
So are we going to, if we wait until, say, the second quarter to even announce that they're available, we probably wouldn't be awarding them until the third quarter. So if there's less money, we're going to be getting another budget just 6 months after that. So we'll probably have more carryover as well. So we should take that into consideration also. But if
I would really prefer to be a little bit more conservative.
yeah, that's fine.
You can make it 2,000 or 3,000. You want to make it 3,000? Whatever you want to do.
We can always up it, right?
Yeah, we can. Sure. The budget only means that we don't have to approve those particular checks when they're written, because they're already approved in the budget. So that's really.
It's not a grant. The grants are not those checks.
Grant, yeah, we would approve grants separate.
Right.
2,500 for, okay, 2,500 for grants.
When do we want to announce their availability?
I think frankly, I think we've got so much on our plate for the next.
So why don't we just say that
spring.
second fiscal quarter?
Second quarter.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's January 1st to March 31st.
Yeah. I don't think we can, I don't think we got the bandwidth.
And then logistically that works, because last year, I remember the Chevy Chase Circle group needed in the spring, or requested in the spring, their grant, and it was around that.
Well, and we might just get some guidance from the Office of ANC by then, as to what's really permitted.
But you're right, we don't know what kind of expenses we're going to have.
No, we don't.
And they may not let us back into the building.
mean, one of the things we specified, at least in our proposal, was that there be an office for the ANC.
No, there's an
No, doesn't mean that we'll do it.
Right.
It's in the program.
Yeah, it is in the program,
So we would have flexibility later.
hopefully. Yeah, I think it will. Right. Okay, any other modifications anyone would have to the budget?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Because we did talk about the, some
I hate to say it, but I'm probably already done. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. This is,
Oh, God, 3726 Livingston again. The administrative costs that they accrue based on the comprehensive plan effort and communications, you might want to allocate a little bit of money. I don't know if you do carry over into cash or how you do it in your budget, but you might want to allocate something there. We don't know how much that is, but based on some discussions, there may be some administrative costs that may be just, I'm not sure the category of it, but it's just something to consider.
And we can do that just on the basis of a resolution at the time. We don't have to include it in the budget. As long as we haven't spent all of our money. But, that's a good point. We've never really made those kinds of expenditures in the past. And we'll try to avoid it by using people who in the community who have those skills. But if that comes up, we can approve it on an ad hoc basis.
Right, you have a reserve or something.
Yes. Yes, that's why our ending balance gives us a reserve.
Right, like for instance, in the office supplies, equipment, and printing, in FY19, 2,500 was allocated. The actual expense was 884. Is that correct, Alan? So it was less.
Yeah.
Right, so there's flexibility.
Yeah. Okay, with that change to the grants,
So what was the change?
the 2,500. 2,500. I would move that we adopt the budget. Second. All those in favor? 6-0. Okay. All right, the quarterly report, which I think is pretty straightforward. This has to be approved at tonight's meeting because it needs to go in tomorrow.
Randy, one thing that I did want to, get on the record, our allocation, it changed, correct, Alan?
Yes.
Next year, yes.
Yes.
Goes up.
Yes, so
It has gone up.
right, so just to have that early, because everyone.
We knew that was happening.
Who
We've already seen that number.
Yes, but like for the public who may not know about the allocation, just to have.
Our allocation did go up some.
Right. Okay. Quarterly financial report, I think this is pretty straightforward, and we still have the problem with the balance forward and
Well, that's
ending
on
balance.
their system.
Because of their system.
You'll see the page I constructed, which has
The last page.
which is correct.
Right. Okay, any questions or comments about it? All those in favor of approving it? 6-0. Okay. Shannon, you got some checks?
Okay, as reported by Alan and Stephanie, we had a $140 postmaster for the post office box rental, $152.53 for Verizon. Am I reading that correct? Yes. Then $47.83 for Stephanie Van Pelt, our office manager, which went to replenishing the petty cash, postage, and supplies. And that was it.
All those in favor of approving those checks? 6-0. Okay, the items I have for our next meeting, which is not until November 25th, because of the Veterans Day holiday. That's the week, by the way, of Thanksgiving. First is an update on the plans for the former American City Diner. Dan and I have been exchanging emails with Steve Solisi's group about this, and I think we're going to have some updates on what it's going to be, as reported in some of the press as well.
As reported.
Yeah.
For the second time.
Yeah, but so it's going to be different from what they originally proposed. But anyway, we're going to have them here for that meeting, so we'll hear from them what it is. Then a discussion for the plans for the restoration of the Wilmata bus turnout. I've gotten them to appear here as well for that. And that's been such a long process, and I'm not sure what they're going to be able to report to us, but we'll see. And then discussion and possible vote on the applications by the Avenue and Capital Crab for a substantial change in their liquor license to add sports wagering to their operations. That. Yeah, it's going to be a
new sports wager
terminal, essentially, where you can make sports wagers.
Yeah, there are 13 establishments in DC that put in a request. Yeah, we got 2 of them right there. Right there.
Yeah.
Also, I think the community center.
Yeah, we'll always have, I think that's a standard community center.
So you're adding the Avenue on the next one?
No, on November 25th.
That's the next meeting.
Yeah, adding the Avenue and Capital Crab applications. Okay, anything else anybody has? Okay, all right, we are adjourned. Thank you.